Okay. I'd love to take a step backwards quickly and try and find a through line between this model of, say, time and space and kind of things existing in this analogy of the file. How does that, is that sort of suggested or guaranteed from these foundations like the PSR and the LI and things like that? What's the through line that you've made to come to that particular decision about how things are structured?
That being the file analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that comes with the idea of the possibility space entailing like all logical possibilities existing. Um, in that context, my thought is that they all exist as complete objects because time is something internal to, like, the process of change and variation and becoming is something internal to a possible world. It's not something that goes on, at least to my way of thinking, sort of in the metaphysical context or in that logical possibility space. My usual thought is that the logical possibility space just, in some sense, by definition, contains these possible worlds as complete possibilities, namely, from start to finish, everything that could ever happen or will ever happen is sort of contained in and entailed by the sort of formula that describes the fundamental constituents or the fundamental principles, the rules, the laws of nature of that particular world. Um, yeah, so if the derivation of specificity was done in a different way, then potentially it might be that the B theory is not the correct way of thinking about time, and that, all the possible transformations that happen in space time might not be, in that sense, contained as a completed object. But yeah, I guess in terms of the question of how do you get to that conclusion, it's basically the thought that, to extend the analogy, that the logical possibility space is like a cosmic hard drive that contains, all the possible movies, and then just in the nature of what it is, for, to be that video file, like from start to finish, like when you press play, it obviously sort of starts to change, but all that change is prefigured already in the code, and it itself doesn't undergo change just because you take on the perspective of traveling through what happens.
Right. So in some sense, the all the possibilities exist sort of somewhat statically, and then in the logical domain, there are those existents playing out in some form.